has qualities that actually we are trying to embrace. So when we talk about our site, when we talk about our brand, when we talk about what we're trying to instill in people, we talk about words like playful, magical, meaningful, personal. And Etsy as a word, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's playful and it's easy and it's whatever you want it to be. So there's an interview with Rob going back a few years, and he tells all kinds of stories, but he'll say that he heard it in the movie 8.5 Weeks by Fellini, or no, 8.5 by Fellini. It's in Italian, so I'm not sure what he heard, but anyway. And Etsy is also a very efficient 4-letter domain name on the internet. So that's the name story. In terms of kind of what's going on at Etsy, I'll just jump right in now to the things that I think are probably on your mind. A lot of the questions that I get at these events, particularly from sellers, are rightly and understandably about, well, what about this, what about that, and what are you doing for me? Why are you guys doing that and not this? And what about a bulk uploader? And I am really excited about what Diana and Brenda made for me to take back on the plane, which is a book called handmademinnesota.com, and they put some information about Minnesota for me, including
it's a dossier.
Pardon?
It's a dossier.
It's a dossier.
The whole thing, yes.
Actually, it's a very global company. But anyway, what I really am looking forward to reading is there are some profiles on the members of the Etsy Minnesota Street Team, right? These are each members of the Etsy Minnesota Street Team.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to taking a look at who all of you are, and maybe going to Etsy and looking at your shops. But on the bottom of each page it says My Etsy Wish List. And I don't think these are items on Etsy. These are things that you want from us. And so I'm here to listen. I want you to know that I will read all of these. These will be communicated to the team. Ian is my witness. I'm also willing to make a small bet, although I'm not really a betting person, that I bet you I could, without having even looked at that yet, tell you what a lot of those things are, because we actually have a list that I metaphorically refer to as like 195 things long that we are constantly trying to prioritize. So let me talk to you a little bit first about that process, and then tell you sort of more about what's on that list. And I think the general point sort of upfront point is, I've been in 2 other companies now that are digitally-based businesses, Amazon, which is a large company now, and at NPR, which was actually similarly sized to Etsy. And it's the same, right? It's the same as it is at Etsy, which is in a digital-based operation that has a large following or a large audience, there's always sort of, it's the nature of the beast. There's always so many things to do, and sort of fewer number of resources. And that's because the web is highly dynamic, it's highly participatory, and very transparent. And on top of that, at Etsy, we have as our core value, part of our core values is to be a more human company. And in that way, we think about that a lot in the way in which we communicate. So we want you to talk to us, and we try to talk with you. We try to do the best we can in that area, and we have a lot of different vehicles for that. But the point is that, we're always going to be kind of, overwhelmed with the list. So that's a good time to mention how we met Ian, and also how Jillian fits into the picture. So I'll just digress for a moment. How many people know what an API is? All right, so some people do. Because the list is always way longer than what a given group of engineers and others can actually make. There's a sort of movement that happens on the web, or has happened on the web, this idea that if you open up your technical sort of back end to the world, then the whole world can create. So think of it like, a handmade movement for code, for programming code. So what we at Etsy have done is we've created an API, as many sites and many companies do. You can think of an API as sort of an access layer into what Etsy has, the information that Etsy has that would be needed by engineers to make applications and tools that you all want. So the things that Ian made, that you may have known as Etsy hacks, although some of them may have been made before we opened the API, have been made with the information that Etsy makes open to the world, if that makes sense. So what we did early this year is we sort of acknowledged to ourselves that, hey, we're only so many people, right? We can only do so many things at a time. So that one of the first things we should do is create an open API so that smart people like Ian and like Jillian and literally hundreds of others around the world can use our information to make some of the applications that all of you want. And that may all sound like mumbo jumbo to you, but I'm sure when the questions come up that Ian and Jillian will explain better than I have what that means. Just to kind of come to a little bit of a closure here, in the recent months, I would say for the last, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, and now moving especially to the holiday period, our primary focus has been on the buyer experience. So all of you raised your hands when I said seller, and almost all of you raised your hands when I said buyer. So when I say that, for those of you who are interested in tools that are more related to the seller experience, don't be disappointed. It's not that we don't know and don't understand that those are important. It's that we have had to ask ourselves, what is it that we could do for you that's the most important? And I think what we're trying to convey when we say we're focusing on the buyer experience is the best thing we think we can do for you is bring you buyers, bring you qualified buyers, get them shopping on the site, and keep them coming back. And in order to do that, we have to do a lot of things. You know, we have to actually bring the traffic to the site, which is acquiring traffic. We have to convert those people who may come to the site to browse or to look around into buyers. And we have to keep them coming back. And there's a lot of actual projects specific projects that relate to those things. And so what we've done back in Brooklyn is, we literally have spent quite a bit of time talking about that. And it's tough. We argue among ourselves. We read the forums, we read the blog comments, we read all of your emails. I think we have a pretty good sense of what's on your mind, although I won't claim to know every exact thing that's on your mind, but I think we have a pretty good sense of the things that come up over and over again. It's not that we don't want to do those things, it's that we're prioritizing. And we're trying to move as quickly as we can within the context of our business. So when I say focus on the buying experience, hopefully you've all noticed some changes over the last year or so. I like to ask this question, and it's a little bit of a teaser, but I want you to guess what my favorite feature is on the website. What's my favorite feature on Etsy.com? What is it?
The new listings.
The new listings. Well, I do love the new listings, but it's not my favorite. Stork. I also love Stork, but not my favorite.
Treasury.
Treasuries, love them, not my favorite. Pounce. Well, you guys have a lot of favorites too. Okay, it's none of those things.
Color picker.
Color picker, that's beautiful, but not my favorite.
Multiple items in one cart.
Oh, I wish we could have that with a single cart checkout. We'll talk about that. My favorite feature on the site is speed. You can't see it, right? Why am I saying that? Who's been at the computer and gone onto a site and the page is loading and it's loading and it's loading and you're like, I'm out of here. Who does that? How long do you wait? 4 seconds? 5 seconds?
It depends on if I have something to
The
read.
average e-commerce shopper waits before the page loads 2. That's